As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather This Morning.
Hey, good morning, good morning. Thanks as always for tuning in to Mississippi Live Weather This Morning at 7:30. I'm meteorologist Maggye McCauley, and we have a lot to talk about going through your 7:30 live broadcast. A few things you need to know is, number one, our chief meteorologist Matt Lawpon is joining us this morning to add to the discussion of what is new out there this morning. And one of those main things is we're actually seeing a winter storm watch in place for a portion of our counties going into the weekend. So that's something that was put in place early this morning. That's new information out there for you today. And another thing is how dangerously cold it's going to be next week. So not brushing past that as well. Yes, we're still tracking the potential for a wintry mix, but we're not brushing past just how chilly things are about to be even after that mix adds in. So those are a few things you need to know this morning, along with, again, our chief meteorologist Matt Lawpon here this morning to discuss everything that you need to know in terms of what all of our different models are doing, what impacts we're going to be changing going into your day ahead, and everything in that sort of nature as well. Here's a look at your current alerts right now across the board. A winter storm watch in effect for not only a portion of our counties, but take a look at this. A lot of our counties impacted by this as well. I'm going to try to pop Matt up. I know he has something to add to the conversation. Give me a second here, and I will try to cut him in. I might have to do it.
There we go. I think you cut me on there. Yeah, and I'm having a little issue. I think when Maggye and I are both logged into what we call the switcher, which is the ability for us to, control things at the same time, for whatever reason, yesterday and today, it's slowing things down. I think the big headline this morning is we do expect, I think, the same impact discussion that we had yesterday. Some travel disruptions, probable, maybe significant travel disruptions for a couple of days. But we're thinking there's still, again, no issues today other than wet roads, or Thursday, and really first part of Friday. But by Saturday, there's enough cold air that we see a wintry mix, and ice looks like it could be starting to shift into the headline position. And I know instantly people immediately think of 94 and what happened then, and some of the big ice storms. It's far too early to make that kind of discussion yet. But any kind of ice is going to slow travel and cause issues. And so, Maggye, that's the reason those are the main impacts. We're going to look in more detail here in a couple minutes at the snow eater on our projections here and compare projections as to, as we talked about at 7 o'clock, the iPhone, if the stock app is still kicking out tremendously ridiculous numbers for most locations on snowfall, that is probably not happening for many locations where they are seeing that. We'll talk about all the reasons why during this broadcast. But again, you're discussing the current alerts, and those obviously come back to those winter storm watches as we're prepping people now. And we do expansion of those is probable, especially for locations back there, kind of the Northwest Delta, and back into Louisiana. Jackson hasn't put out theirs. This is kind of the precursor before eventually we have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories, and that's when it's more short fuse and things are happening.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I know I'm showing these current alerts. I just want to show the length that they are, like all the counties, all the cities that they're encompassing in the central United States. And again, more are probably on the way, but this is just what was issued going yesterday and then into today, which does include some of our counties. So again, we're going to get into that. Matt, I am making my way over, trying to find my box where I am just by myself to let you prep and go through.
That would be under lives, and under lives, then you'll see you if you look at, I think it's a green tab.
Yep, you got me.
My gizmo that
Matt,
I usually hit all the buttons on here doesn't work if I'm not logged in remotely. So anyway, we'll get that part figured out today. I thought we had it.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Well, I'm going to let you go, and we'll see you coming up after the break about what different model runs are doing this morning. So here's a look at current alerts again across the United States this morning. Just want to show you what they're encompassing from New Mexico, Texas, the state of Oklahoma, and Arkansas, majority of those states seeing that as well. And that extends into here in North Mississippi, and that is new information out there this morning. So that's why we really wanted to show that kind of starting off of everything. Take a look at your current alerts. This goes into effect Friday at noon all the way until Sunday at 6 p.m. This includes our Coahoma, Quitman, Tallahatchie, Yalobusha, Calhoun, all the way into Lamar County and those sitting off to the north. These are our counties that are included with the National Weather Service in Memphis that has already went ahead with this winter storm watch. So that's not saying the rest of our counties went to Jackson, kind of jumps on board, couldn't see this watch as well. So that just means everybody's kind of getting set up for what's going to be happening as we head into the weekend. Here's a look at what's going on outside right now. Everybody has eyes on the weekend. We're seeing rain ongoing, though, for some of us out the door this morning. Here's our Mississippi Live Mama Justice radar. Showers extend from Tate County down into Panola County, Quitman, Coahoma County as well. I want to zoom in and show you where that rainfall is this morning. Again, crossing over 55 right now from DeSoto, Tunica, Panola County. That does stretch into places like Bolivar County as well. So some showers out there impacting some of us this morning. If you are getting out and about on 61, 55, even portions of 22 in Marshall County up into the Tennessee state line as well. Now, as I zoom out, most of us actually dry this morning in Northeast Mississippi. You can see that's not impacting places like Bruce, Eupora, Tupelo, Corinth, but it will be as we head further on into your day ahead. Here's a live look over in Tupelo. Lots of clouds out there. You can see temperatures in the 30s and lots of clouds to start off your day this morning. Same story over in our Crenshaw Camo. I want to show you a little bit closer to where that rain is, a little bit more cloud cover, some darker clouds out there as well. Temperatures also warmer in the 40s. Take a look at your temperatures right now. We're in the 40s, some of us closer to 50, and some of us still sitting in the 30s this morning. 47 in Belzona, 45 in Cleveland, 36 in Bruce. The further east you go, the cooler you do get. 37 up in Alcorn County, 35 in Columbus, 34 in Aliceville. So 30s and 40s are the temperatures this morning. As we head into your first 12 hours ahead, we will see temperatures rise to near 50 today, which is around average for where we should be for this time of year. And I encourage you today, tomorrow, enjoy the temperatures being in the 40s and 50s because it's about to get cold and be there for a long time. So we'll see temperatures again in the 40s for a majority of the afternoon. Low 50s will be highs, and also rain chances increasing into your afternoon and evening. So got any plans on the back half of your day? Shower chances continuing to push into the area, especially noon and on, and linger all the way throughout your dinner time hours. Here's a big view of what's going on this morning. And a cold front extending from Chicago all the way down into Dallas, causing that rainfall throughout a good portion of the state in Arkansas, northern Louisiana. Mixed precipitation up to the north, and that's where it's going to be staying at least today, right? So nothing but plain rain out there today that's going to be impacting us. As I take this day by day, again, using our strike model to kind of show you early high resolution data, we are going to be seeing rain again into your afternoon. No surprise there. That's going to linger even into the evening hours for places like Northeast Mississippi. Going in on your Thursday, a few showers likely as well, especially for areas south of 82, the southern half of our area, looking to still see a few showers hanging on in the front half of your Thursday, but a lot of the day staying dry. Now let's go into Friday. And we're going to be talking more about what model runs are looking like this morning. And this is just one of them that we're watching that kind of shows our higher resolution data a little bit further out, looking to start off with some rain and then see that mixed precipitation come into play as we head into the evening. This model has also been the earliest of our models to push this in. So this has that starting again around that evening commute, those dinner time hours, starting to see that mixed precipitation in northwest Mississippi and continue into those overnight hours. And then, of course, into our day on Saturday. Coming up next, again, we're going to continue the discussion with our Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lopon, here as well, at looking at what all the model runs are looking like this morning, what has changed, what hasn't. Of course, we'll go through our impact levels as well of what we're looking to change and what is staying consistent as we head over the next few days. So all of those details, you'll have to stick with us, is coming up right after this.
When choosing a dentist for our family, Tupelo Smiles was the answer for us. They greet us with warm smiles right when we walk in the door, and they make us feel so welcome. We love Tupelo Smiles.
Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Delicious, celebratory, but is it quick? The Cobb salad. Tender oven roasted chicken, topped with cheese. Prepared, plated, and served in 6 minutes? Is this for real? Well, of course. Well done, Wanda. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Yes, ma'am. Life is sweet.
When you've been injured, don't settle for a lawyer who doesn't even know where you live. Call Langston and Lott. Local lawyers, personal service, real results.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Maggye McCauley.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. The time now is 7:44 on your Wednesday morning. Thanks as always for tuning in here to Mississippi Live Weather. I'm meteorologist Maggye McCauley. Our chief meteorologist Matt Lawpon is in the background as well. He's going to be joining in on the conversation a little bit closer to time when we get into that all-important weekend forecast. Out the door, though, this morning, I want to show you some rain that's ongoing on our Mississippi Live Mama Justice radar. Showers encompassing northwest Mississippi from DeSoto, Tate, Panola, Quitman counties, stretching all the way places like Bolivar County as well. So some showers out there for northwest Mississippi this morning. The closer you are to the Mississippi River, the more rain you're seeing out there this morning. Northeast Mississippi, though, looking to start off dry and good to go out there for your morning commute if you haven't hit the roadways just yet. Here's a live look in Aberdeen this morning. Lots of clouds continuing to filter in there this morning, and temperatures in the upper 30s, a little bit cooler, a lot of us in the 40s even this morning. But clouds, no rain out there for Aberdeen. Same story for Amory, not looking at any rainfall just yet this morning, just some cloud cover beginning to put in place. And again, temperatures in the upper 30s. It is going to be a little bit of a warmer day ahead. We're looking at high temperatures in the 50s for a lot of us. Some of us could stick in those 40s though. Take a look at this. High temperatures out there for your Wednesday. Normal for this time of year is low 50s. A lot of us going to be there today. Some of us, though, hanging out in the 40s. 40 in South Haven, 47, 48 in Senatobia for high today, 49 New Albany, 47 in Booneville, 46 in Corinth, 50 here in Tupelo, and then the further south you go, low 50s, Eupora, Starkville, Columbus, even 54 down in Macon. But you can see a lot of us topping off in those low 50s today, which is right around where we should be for this time of year. I can't say that's enough. Get out, enjoy these conditions, because going over the next few days, going into your weekend, things are about to get very cold here in North Mississippi, well below average. Heading hour by hour, we'll see these showers continue to pour over from the Mississippi River, encompassing a lot of our area as we head noon and on. So any lunchtime plans, probably going to need the rain gear out there. Same story into your afternoon, picking up the kiddos from school, headed home from work, going to need the rain gear as well. Going into your evening, we see rain chances continue mainly for northeast Mississippi around 6, 7, 8 o'clock, continuing for this area. Not looking at anything severe, but could see still some heavier pockets as this does move through. That front continues to push in. Showers are going to continue overnight for northeast Mississippi, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of us are waking up to some rain, especially in the southern half of our area, south of 82, places like Belzona, Kosciuszko, the Golden region, Macon, Noxubee County. Wouldn't be surprised if you still see some showers out there for your Thursday morning commute. These become less and less throughout the day ahead, though, out there for your Thursday. I think a lot of us are just dealing with some cloud cover going throughout your Thursday. Now, that's Thursday. We know things change as we head into Friday and then into your weekend. So as we shift into Friday, let's talk about what's going to be happening, what's going to unfold as we head throughout the day. This is Friday morning. I want to say we're probably going to deal with some rain out there on your Friday morning that is not going to be a wintry mix just yet. Conditions are going to actually fall throughout the day. We're going to see temperatures continue to get colder throughout your Friday ahead. So things in the morning looking not impactful, but the later on we get in the day on Friday, the colder things get, the more likely we see this show up on our screen. Some pinks and blues on our radar out there for your Friday evening as the system continues to push in and as conditions do get colder and colder. So throughout your day on Friday, I just encourage you, go ahead and be prepared before Friday. And I can't continue to say this as the kiddos are getting out of school, as we're also getting out of work out there on your Friday. Just make sure you have what you need and you stay there for the evening ahead, because this is when things are going to get impactful going into Friday night. Here's one of our models. This is our strike model. I want to show you, we're going to show you the difference in models and what things are looking like. Our chief meteorologist, Matt Lopon, kind of going to break that down. But this is one of them, and it has more of that mixed precipitation out there for us. Some of our models this morning continuing to shove that warm layer up to the north. The more that layer is shoved up closer to North Mississippi, the more likely we are to see that mixed bag of things, that potential for ice to become a little bit higher in confidence in our minds than that snowfall, and that snowfall being continually shoved off to the north as well. Now, we know this will teeter-totter going into Saturday, Sunday as we get closer to time. We're showing you the strike model because it shows you a little bit more of high resolution data a little bit earlier in time. So again, as we head over the next 24 to 48 hours, we'll continue to see if other high resolution data does line up with this. But right now, other models are also trying to shove that warm layer further and further off to the north out there, and causing that heavy rain to be a little bit closer to our area and that mixed precipitation to be likely what a lot of us are getting. So that's a look at Saturday. Again, this is going to continue throughout the day on Saturday, probably coming in multiple waves as we head into Saturday morning and then again into your Saturday evening. So I encourage you yet again on Saturday, make sure that you're staying indoors, you have your plans ready, and that you're not trying to get out about in this unless you absolutely have to. Because if this does stay true, if we get more ice than anything else, this is going to cause a lot more travel disruptions than just plain snow. So definitely want to have your plans together and ready out there for your Saturday. Looking at impacts as well, we're probably going to be changing this. I know our chief meteorologist, Matt Lopon, going to be joining us in the next few minutes, but here's our overall threats. Here's the thing. If these models stay consistent in what they're showing this morning, we're probably going to have to level up our confidence in the potential for some sleet and ice accumulations. That's, again, if models do stay consistent as we head over the next 24, 48 hours in what they're showing this morning. And we're probably going to have to take that accumulating snowfall potential down a notch, which I know is not what anybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see snow. Nobody wants to see any of this. That's just not what things are looking like, at least this morning. Also, that heaviest rainfall, we're probably going to have to go up or at least reword, because rainfall is looking likely for our most southern counties, looking like that heaviest batch of rainfall kind of continuing again, everything continuing just to push off to the north in terms of that different precipitation. These are the two things, though, that remain the same, that we might even have to go into a high confidence level of. Travel impacts, number one. If you have to get out and about on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we are probably going to see major travel impacts, especially if it stays true of us getting majority ice, then snowfall. Also, the potential of some power disruptions with the potential of some ice falling as well. And that makes for some dangerous conditions when we're talking about sub-freezing temperatures for over 72 hours. As always, make sure to come in on the chat. I'm going to read a few of these as well as I continue to kind of move this around. I'm going to move it in my screen. But again, continue to go in the chat. We're going to be answering your questions as well. I know there's a thing about hospital staff. I know there's essential workers that have to get out and about. It says hospital staff better take extra clothes to work. That is very true. I mean, we will be here with you doing extended coverage. The good news is here in Mississippi Live Weather, I'm working from my house. Matt's working from his house as well. So we can continue that coverage all the way through the weekend. Matt, that's one good news about our jobs, not necessarily about those essential workers. So I know hospitals and other staff like that are going to have to be planning ahead.
Well, I mean, this is the only place pretty much you can work in the state of Mississippi and not have to worry about it. Because typically, as a meteorologist, you absolutely have to be on the roads. You're out in it. Yep. You know, the one of the benefits of being intentionally decentralized is that we can get a report from Northwest Mississippi from you. I can get North Lee County from me. We can get Gabe a different spot. We can get, you know, Caleb at a different spot, and then we have other folks as well, including we'll be reaching out today to some emergency managers, you know, calling on the phone and saying, hey, you know, we're probably going to try to touch base with you if we get into some serious situations. But we can do that with this infrastructure. That's the way in which this was intentionally built.
Right.
So have you done 7-day forecast yet?
I haven't. You want me to do it?
Let's hit 7 day and then we'll circle back to this because I think, you know, that kind of sets the stage for how things kind of go from there. And hi, Marcellus and everyone else for tuning in with us this morning. See, 1994. What year were you born? I love playing this game to make myself feel old. What game were you born, Maggie? What year?
1999.
Yeah.
I'm still in the 19s.
Hold on, you were 99?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
19.
You were in the 19s. You could have been Emily and I's intentional choice.
Oh, well, there you go.
God, I didn't realize you were that young. I thought you were like mid-90s maybe.
No, I'm 26, so 1999 is where I'm sticking.
99. That's awesome.
Yep.
I wish I was as talented as you are at 26 when I was 26, but that's a different discussion. So the number that keeps going around is 1994. And 94 was the big ice storm. And yes, there is ice potential here, and maybe ice storm potential, but this is kind of like comparing every chance there's a tornadoes to April 27th, 2011, one of the biggest outbreaks on record. It's probably not going to be that. But you don't know until a couple days out there, like, man, this really kind of honed in on something like that. So I think it's still early to start use those kind of comparisons, thankfully, but ice potential certainly is significant. I'm going to back out for a second. I'll put that chat back up. I'll let you kind of wrap up your show, and then we'll dig into all the rest of the stuff.
All right. Let's show the 7-day forecast for you guys. Again, I can't emphasize enough to enjoy the 50s while we have them over your next few days. Rain chances likely today, so you're dealing with showers, especially lunchtime plans and on. A few of those try to hang out into your Thursday, especially the front half of the day. On your Friday, things really start to pick up, especially as we head later on in the day on Friday. I'm talking your evening hours into the overnight. Friday is when things are really going to start hit the ground running, and temperatures are going to continue to fall below freezing, causing issues into your Saturday. Temperature is going to be below freezing on Saturday, but again, we're going to be talking about that mixed precipitation because that warm air trying to creep in, especially aloft. So mixed precipitation likely Friday night, Saturday, even into your Sunday. And then we don't want to get past these cold conditions. Look at that. Highs on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday below freezing. Overnight lows on Monday and Tuesday. We have had to continue to trend these numbers downward. We probably might still have to by a degree or so. Monday morning starting off at 10, barely in the teens out there, barely in the triple digits, I should say. And then Tuesday, a lot of us starting off in the single digits. So don't want to get past just how cold things are going to be after the system does push through. So that's something, again, after everything's said and done on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to continue to monitor, especially in terms of power outages and things of that nature as we get into next week. So that's a look at your 7-day forecast. Again, me and Matt going to go over, especially Matt, what's going to be happening with model runs. Again, we're going to be looking at it kind of going back and forth of things that have changed and what things are looking like this morning, Matt.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the big thing when we're kind of looking at the different projections. We've touched on this a little bit at 7 o'clock. Now is when we kind of really dig into things here as we're tracking this active potential for obviously what is probably going to end up being some ice and other things. So I'm going to try to clean up my graphic behind me. Give me a moment to kind of pull that up here. This coming from the College DuPage, which has been one of my favorite, forecasting websites since I was back in college. This is the Snow Eater, okay? And everybody's in the chat, and they're all asking the same question. Is this 94? And I'll tell you the perfect answer here. We don't know. We know that there's a lot of moisture. We know 94 just rained and rained and rained and rained and just had a ridiculous amount of freezing rain. There's quite a bit of moisture available for this system, but I think we're a long ways from 94 confidence level, especially looking at the lower level temperatures. I'm going to show you, again, this is all going to be kind of the grody, behind the scenes sort of look of the way some of this is, but this is my favorite projection, which is at this time frame out, which is the European, and I always make excuses for the European. You'll hear me continually making them. Okay, let's kind of walk through this on timing here. So this is Friday, 3 p.m., Friday, 6 p.m., Friday, 9 p.m. And at 9 p.m. Friday, I'm going to see if it'll let me turn my mouse back on here. Show cursor. There we go. Okay, so 9 p.m. Friday, right about there. This is that black number you see there, that 34, that is Tupelo on its temperature, showing 34, and it shows the freezing line up here just north of Tupelo at that point in time. We'll work on the positioning in a second, but big takeaway is even though we have the chance for some wintry stuff to fall on Friday, it's mostly falling into above freezing temperatures, which is why we don't expect to have a lot of travel disruptions from that. As we head into the evening, though, that's when things get trickier. So I'm going to do a comparison product of the current models for that time period. We're looking at surface temperatures here for 9 p.m. Friday. And notice that model I just showed you is solidly one of the warmest that we have, right? Not the warmest, but pretty close to the warmest. Not actually is, I think, the warmest that I'm showing up there. Yeah. And we also, looks like we have a new version of that out anyway. So let's zoom this particular page in a little more. So in all cases, that number there, the one I'm kind of highlighting, is Tupelo, just for a kind of reference. Most of our projections are a little bit farther south on the cold air at that point. And one of our other long-range predictions, the one that was just so ridiculously cold at 10 o'clock last night, is leading the way in coldest, as you would expect. You know, similar bias, again, showing up here. But even at that point, 9 p.m. Friday, most locations aren't below freezing. As a result, most of what's fallen at that point has melted into something else other than snow. And the number one thing that will probably, and I don't know this answer, I'm looking at these models hot on the air at the same time you're looking at it, and Maggie, I'm going to pop up your microphone behind the scenes, and you feel free to hop in with opinions at any point here, and we'll kind of pop this back into the 2-box potentially here in a moment.
Okay.
But, you know, big takeaway on that initial stuff, again, GFS is kind of normalized as the coldest. Let's go to early morning Saturday, 12Z Saturday. I'm going to pop the same thing here, look at the same current models, and this would be 6 a.m. Saturday. Our coldest is, again, really cold. The pinks you see there in northwest Mississippi are mid-teens and lower. We're to the freezing point or colder on that warmest one, that Euro, that I apologize for. Most other projections are honestly in line with that. Pretty consistent in everything except for the GFS being milder on this. And we're going to have a much better data as we hone on this today, and tomorrow we start getting into the high resolution projections, and the positioning of how far south that cold area is becomes critical. But early Saturday, I still show Columbus above freezing. I still show Macon 35-ish. So that is that warm air from the Gulf, and really we're going to see that warm air charge northward a lot more as we go through the day. Okay, so let's kind of go forward in time here a few more. And notice how, as we had, say, midday Saturday, let's go to 3 p.m. Saturday here for a moment. And then we're going to look and compare the current runs on that. Again, our coldest is the coldest, everybody below freezing. And really, really cold northwest portion of the state, hence the reason it's all a combination of ice and snow on that projection there. And I would say that's what we're going to see agreement on most of our projections. Now, I lose some of our high resolution. I only really have 3 projections I can look at once we go toward 4 p.m. there. So let's see if I can back it up a couple hours. Should have probably done noontime after all. Let's see if that... valid. Nope, I'm going to have to go back to the other graphic and we'll pull up noontime, because I think I lose some of my projections there. Okay, now current models. Okay, so again, cold, milder, similar level of mildness, maybe a little colder, but everything is pretty well in agreement. The golden triangle through that point probably hasn't dropped below freezing. That is warmer than yesterday at this time. That's warmer than last night, and warm air almost always spoils the party when we start talking about fluffy white snowfall. And we're seeing that even at the surface level here. So big takeaway on that. There are locations that stay below freezing that whole time based on these projections, But even a one county maneuver farther north, I mean, right now I show that's northern Monroe County is where my surface freezing point is on this. And if you go above the surface, that's where things get a little bit, well, I mean, a little bit less favorable for snowfall. So this is just, you know, what, about 800 meters or so conceivably above the surface there. Probably not quite that high above the surface. But, you know, somewhere less than a kilometer, less, you know, about half a mile or so above the surface, we're above freezing in Tupelo. And what that means is even if it was snow up there, it falls warmer, starts to melt, and even if it's able to refreeze before it gets to the surface, it's no longer snowfall. It's either sleet or freezing rain or something else like that, hence all that all-encompassing ice descriptor that goes with that there. And you go much higher above that at the same time period there, and it's even warmer, even farther above the freezing point. And then eventually we'll get up there a little higher, and it's all below freezing again. That's not true. That's a total lie. Even at 700, it's above freezing. Well, 700 was not above freezing yesterday. So, I mean, okay, I got to bring Maggye in for this because this is one of those points where I'm gonna try not to go too far off the rails on this.
Okay.
With 700 above freezing, where you're at up there northwest Mississippi, if Euro's right, this is again why it's so absurd to give snowfall accumulations this far out, and the reason we have not given you specific numbers is because that, I mean, even just a little bit of, you know, like 33, 34 degree temperatures at 700 millibars, that's going to take fluffy flakes and at least make it, you know, like sleet or something else and completely ruin the totals.
No,
even if you're 20 at the surface.
I know. I said that at 6:30. I said, I know you guys have probably seen a lot of snow totals out there, and that's really great. But if we gave you snow totals yesterday in comparison to what I am looking at this morning, it'd be completely different. So that's why we're not continuing
and we expect that
give information. Yeah.
You know, I always say the best part about living in Mississippi for a kid that came from Kansas is that we're so close to the coast. I mean, I never went to the beach except one time when I was in high school. My family, we are blessed. We go once a year. How about yours, Maggye? You're still fairly close. How often do y'all make it down to the beach?
Usually once. Sometimes it'd be twice if I went with a friend. Just depends.
But here's my point. You can get there quickly, and that means warm air from the coast can get here quickly as well, and it almost always messes up snowfall. And clearly, we're seeing indications that that'll be the case as well. So you have that likely wintry mix behind you, and this is why that mix is always the term that we show with that there, is because, I mean, you can pretty much just draw right on there where that snow eating 925 layer, you know, above the surface, you know, warm layer is, as you kind of rotate through that there. I mean, yeah, it shows kind of waves of wintry stuff moving through, but there's a lot of rainfall with that as well.
Yeah, and I think even yesterday on our models we were looking at didn't even have the rainfall that far north. So I think that's what's really concerning and really showing that warm layer being heavily pushed up is seeing that heavy rainfall. And I did adjust a little bit of our threat graphics to kind of indicate that. But even showing the rainfall in the Golden Triangle region more than a wintry mix, that's really, I think, models kind of grabbing a hold of that warm layer and shoving it up north. It just, the question mark is, though, do they continue that? And I know probably at least to some sort. But that's the overall question.
Very rarely do we end up in a situation where, so it almost always underestimates the warm layer a week out, and so you start getting, you know, craziness that occurs. But very rarely, once the models lock onto it, does it completely go away. So, you know, I would be saying that if I'm sitting down there in Columbus, ideas of snowballs are not impossible. But that's that potential is under impressive for sure. You know, and one of the things that folks are talking about in the chat here, and I'll kind of bring it back over here for a second so we can pop the chat up for a moment. And Maggye, behind the scenes, if you'll bring up the horizontal and radial ice. If you missed us last night at 10 o'clock, it's a brand new product here. You can see only on Mississippi Live the ability to look at horizontal icing, like say road surfaces, and radial icing, where we're thinking power lines and tree branches and those kind of things. You know, I see folks asking questions about, 94. 94 was the benchmark ice storm. It's number one, too early to know. But there's been a significant uptick in warm air. And thankfully, some of that uptick in warm air has also been at the surface. And so that makes a 94 situation for some folks less likely. But there's just so much warm air aloft, even for folks where it's cold at the surface, where then now we could still end up with icing. So all that to say, 94 is historic. That's something we compare it to a week after the fact. We will say ice with disruptions to travel and power outage is certainly a possibility out of this. I would say a probability out of this for a lot of folks. I'm going to check a different projection here for a moment. And what I want to look at, and we kind of showed this a little bit last night. Actually, let's just take the raw output on this. I just want to see this here. And again, these numbers, I wouldn't believe these for a heartbeat. But this is the snowfall accumulation on this that goes insanity up for locations up there into Arkansas. Just absolute insanity. But the reason I'm showing this is not so much to say, oh, look, it shows an inch for Tupelo or two for Oxford. I'm not saying I believe either of those at this point here. Could be more, could be less. I'd hedge my bet toward less, but anyway, still some time on that because I want to show you the same model and look at previous runs. I want you to see the trend here that was more last night, more yesterday midday, more yesterday morning. And so you could see over the last 24 hours, we went from whoa to aw to what to huh. And that is that warmer layer aloft. Even just a little bit, 33-degree temperatures for an extended period of time, it melts this. And so this is the reason we're not showing, Mississippi Live. Well, I have my logo on that because I have it on all the stuff I have coming up on there, so that implies more than we should. But ultimately, that's the reason why we don't have, we haven't been showing accumulation totals. Is just because the warm air, that's the effect of the warm air. Now, could this bob farther south? Yes. Will it? I wouldn't be betting the farm on that. Let's bring Maggye back in here because, it's... No one wants to say ice storm, and I would still say for your friends and family out there in Arkansas, if this warm layer continues, I get concerned about, the Delta. I get concerned about locations out that direction as well, because there's a lot of moisture there, and they are a lot more likely to keep the cold air. You add in a warm layer aloft, and this takes these snow dreams and causes real problems that direction.
Yeah, no, it does. And that's not saying there's not going to be, some heavy accumulations of snow somewhere regionally, but just not here, very likely. So I think somebody's
it's less likely. I would say less likely.
Yes, okay, less likely. We'll say that. But yeah, model projections definitely kind of overdoing it the last few days and then really cutting it off. I'm kind of proud of us for kind of holding back our hands with snow accumulations just because of the way things went this week. I mean, I know it's hard. It's hard I know y'all all want to see how much snow we think is going to happen, if it's going to happen. And we want to share that. Like, I want to say, hey, this is what I think. But sometimes our hands are tied because we just aren't 1,000% sure and we don't want to spread inaccurate information and have to, hey, take that back the next day because that's not any fun.
Candace asking, though, and this is something that we did come out with early and we're going to keep with here, is, someone's asking about slippery roadways. Yes, I think in either of these situations, a lot of us have slippery roadways for a number of days, and somebody is at home for 3 or 4 days or more, especially if we get in this icing situation. So you're looking at horizontal icing there, and this is something you'd see only on Mississippi Live. Horizontal versus what we call radial icing. And again, the beauty of this kind of live format here is we're able to do these kind of more extended discussions. And so horizontal icing means the kind of icing that would be the combination of freezing rain and sleet at the same time, right? What flat surfaces get. And talking about those different precipitation types, I don't know that everyone always gets it, right? But sleet is going to be where you have the snowflake and it melts, but doesn't necessarily completely melt, but it does completely refreeze before it hits the surface. Hold on. Does sleet completely melt? I think I just lied on that. It completely refreezes before it hits the surface, but I got to remember, I think it mostly melts. Got to remember the angle on that.
There's a percentage there, but either way, it falls as a pellet on the surface.
Yeah, exactly. It basically hits as kind of like a pellet, and so then causes ice as soon as it hits the surface. It's not necessarily a dry pellet. It's still kind of a wet, rain-coated pellet. And so then that then causes icing, causes some icing to tree branches, a little bit of icing to power lines, things like that. But mainly it's flat surfaces. And so this isn't truly just sleet, but this is kind of the icing impact when you start looking at the flat surfaces there. And as you can see clearly, it is significant for some spots. This is not rec infrastructure levels by any stretch of the imagination, but this is put you at home for a while levels. And this is our strike model, and I think the positioning could use some adjustment, especially as we get a better idea on where exactly that lowest level cold, air is lined up with this essentially. But yeah, go ahead.
And I think there has been, you see like these kind of deeper purples. I'm not saying that's going to be right there, but there has been indication in our models of somebody getting a little bit more than everybody else. And it's right along, I would say this big area right here, maybe Arkansas, LA, MS, this kind of Greenville Delta area. Maybe we shove that a little bit further.
I'll tell you right now.
North. Yeah.
If you were, gun to my head right now, I'd be watching real closely Greenville, Grenada, up Oxford, frankly toward you. You're probably a little bit on the north side there, up in Senatobia, Tate County. Right. But then this is the stuff that affects power and trees and things of that nature, what we call radial icing. And I do see kind of an enhancement there closer to Rolling Fork, south of Greenville. Again, this is one model at one time positioning, and we expect that position to kind of shift some. But you can kind of clearly see there that there are some spots with slightly heavier amounts. Maggye, if you dig into that model, double check to see, that's probably 15K strike.
It is.
Change it out to 3K strike. We should probably have, and that's the resolution, 15 kilometer resolution versus 3 kilometer, which is going to be a smaller resolution. I think we might have data far enough out.
Real quick for us.
Okay. I forget you know how to do that. I almost messed that up last night on trying to change the numbers on that. Kimberly keeps talking about here in the chat while you're doing that, her disdain for the ice storm of '94, and I get that. I don't think at all that she is off base on that. But again, this has some distinct differences between this and '94. I'll pop up the chat here for a moment. I'll wait for Maggye to wave me on once that is ready here in a second as we bring up the chat. And again, join the conversation with us. And again, support our sponsors. We talk about Room to Room all the time. They sponsor our weather center here. But all Traceway, runs commercials on the 24-hour channel. A lot of ways in which you can support us. But the main way is just, go to these local businesses that have stepped out in faith, True Shield Roofing, and First Choice Bank, and everybody who's kind of stepped out to help us to sponsor us here. That's the biggest way in which you can kind of help us and support us, especially when we start talking about this. Someone said I had the shirt that said I survived the ice storm of '94. We're hoping there's big differences with this. Tramal said that they were 2 in '94. Hopefully this is not one we talk about for years and years, but the warm air aloft certainly has kind of impacted the positioning on some of the things. And so Maggye looks like she is just about ready there, so we'll kind of pop that back up here. Join the conversation here, and we'll keep talking about things. But let's go back here to Maggye, and we're looking at radial icing. And radial icing is basically, if you're thinking, a circle, like the radius of a circle, you have a point in the middle there, and it kind of expands out from there. We'll see if my gizmo is going to go back. Oh, I see what's happening here, Maggye. I am reconnecting to the switcher. So if you just hit, wait, hold on, I'm back. Now I can hit merge. And there we are. We're back.
You got it. Yep.
Okay, so first thing I clearly see on 3 kilometer is it does a much better job on the north side of this on trying to figure out the difference between that snow and ice line there, and thus that's what it has. There's no number there east of Little Rock. That's about a county south of where you guys are? Your family out there?
Yeah, that's sitting south of us, because we're kind of right along the lines of Little Rock, like straight east. But yeah, you can see kind of that deeper purple showing up.
Yeah, that deeper purple would be, I mean, more than a 1/4 inch to, half inch, and again, positioning is going to change on this, but I instantly see an improvement now with the higher resolution of, did I spell radial at the top right? R-A-D-I-A-L. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we're, there are going to be some pockets where a 1/2 inch of radial ice remains a possibility out of this. And that would be, where you're adding essentially overall an inch of ice to, see if I can get an inch right, an inch of ice, hold it in front of, hey, look, I have this blue next to me, I can hold it. So an inch of ice to whatever is out there. So if you had a power line that was, say, an inch wide, and then you're adding an inch of ice, that 1 inch power line is now 3 inches. That's a lot of extra weight. And so that, DeWitt, Arkansas, as you could see there, where she's adding in that location, wasn't want to populate?
I'm trying to add it in so the information pops up. Right now it's just the town, so we're getting there. But I just want to show some towns in there. But either way, wherever that sets up, that's going to be an issue.
Impactful, that's for sure. So we're hoping, and and you have to have the map centered to get it to where it'll let you click on it. So you can see that cluster of names down below Greenville. That's why it's not giving you any other names. So if you move the map position up north, it'll give you all those. It'll move the names with it.
Okay, there we go. It's still not wanting to populate that, but either way, we get the point.
So, so a lot of questions, obviously, continuing in the chat back and forth of folks. Just wanting to know. Obviously concerned. I hear the phrase historic event going around. I don't think we're at that point where I want to say this is a historic event. Obviously, a historic event for you could be one where you lost power and you didn't have power for a few days. That would be historic for you, even if it's not regionally or globally a historic event. But I would say that it is impactful, and we kind of prepare you for impacts. And in this case, the impact is very clear. There will be travel disruptions for a number of days for some locations. There will probably be some power outages. We're not necessarily, convinced there'll be widespread power outages, anything like that. But one other thing, we'll pop that up, and then after this, we'll go to the wind graphic, because that's kind of the multiplier on any ice. If you have windy conditions plus the ice, that's when you really start to have some issues there. But on those threats that she's showing there, again, confidence level has increased on the icing potential and decreased on the snowfall. And that's why we kind of held it as a 3 on each of those. Maggye updating that between broadcasts, because of course she did, because Maggie's on top of things. One of us at Mississippi Live Weather always gets her job done, and that is Maggye McCauley.
I don't know about
so accumulating snowfall confidence is just not as high. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, and the goal is to continue to update. No, you're fine. The goal is to continue to update it there. But travel impacts, we feel very highly confident for some locations will be multi-day impacts, and sub-freezing temperatures for multiple days will cause issues with pipe bursts and then further stress electrical infrastructure, because if some of the projections are right and we're down there to low single digits, or possibly even get into a situation where, sorry, odd chat that caught my attention. Very long one, but anyway. Ultimately, the cold is going to stress the electrical infrastructure because more people are going to be requesting more heat, and that's going to cause issues with that as well. So, prepare accordingly. Hopefully you've got blankets just in case. Make sure you obviously have your medications, and be remembering those pets and all those other things we're talking about. So here are those future wind gusts. And this is where things get interesting. So Friday, we're ahead of any icing. Northeast winds in that, 20 mile per hour range is still fairly breezy, all things considered. And that's that cold air kind of settling in. Yes, yes. Now that is still low. We're more mid 30s at that point. But then as we go into Friday night, and you're talking South Haven, Santobia, Tunica, 30-mile-per-hour winds there with temperatures that are probably down in the 20s. That's going to be feeling like teens, kind of best case scenario. But you see, and I'm really, of all the things I don't know about on this event, there's a couple that really get my interest. Obviously, the warm air aloft, but this is showing 30 to 40 mile per hour winds, and GFS was showing similar kind of strong wind gusts as well. I don't know. Like, I don't.
This is a little much.
Talk me through. I'm trying to see a scenario that seems really high. Like, really high.
Like
I don't
this might
believe
be
that.
overdoing it a little much, but it does show that winds are going to be up.
Yeah, and even GFS last night was 20 to 30. So again, fairly breezy. But that's, anyway, so here's my concern. You know, you add in a half inch of ice plus, you know, a 20 mile per hour wind, let's even say. 20 is enough. Everything over 20 doesn't really matter in this situation. And most of us, as you can see there, are probably 15 to 20 miles per hour. I mean, that's a lot of extra weight. Oh, I always have terrible analogies. I'm trying to think of the best terrible analogy for this.
You're trying to think of the worst
Maggye,
analogy?
well, you're not at that stage yet with Maya, but when you get to the age where you do the swing thing, and I'm not suggesting you do that because I'm sure that is dangerous, and you know, pediatricians say don't do that. But anyway, if you're a dangerous person, you swing your kids by the arm, you know, in the circle, right? And you feel that tugging pull on your arm, right? That it is enhanced by the faster that you're swinging. There's more force, you know, trying to pull it out. And the same thing is kind of going on to the tree branches when you start adding wind. There's enough weight there when you add some ice to it that you add wind and it tugs it harder. It makes them move, and that is more likely to see branches and things fail in that scenario there. And so that's why wind is a multiplier. You know, you're better off to get half inch of ice and have no wind than you are to have, say, 3 or 4/10 of an ice and have inch of ice and then have wind, because the wind just really kind of multiplies the effect. And I just threw out numbers there, and like most statistics, just made up on the fly. But the enhancement definitely is there that wind can cause other issues, obviously.
Yeah. And then when that causes issues, we look. What do they say?
No, go ahead. You finish this thought, and then I have to talk about Nikki's comment on YouTube here.
Okay. All I was saying was we have ice. If ice does cause that issue with the potential of power outages, then we add in how cold it's going to be for multiple days after that, and then we have the likelihood of, again, dangerous conditions setting up with folks without power and then conditions still below freezing. But go ahead with whatever you're saying.
Nikki says, I don't think Penny will have an issue wearing a jacket during this. And this morning, I hear, as we're getting ready for the 7:30 show, as they're getting ready to run out the door, you've got to wear a jacket. No, she's brilliant, but she is unteachable when it comes to jackets.
It didn't go with her outfit.
Did you wear jackets growing up?
I don't remember having a problem.
Do you wear
with
jackets
jacket.
now?
No. But I will this weekend.
That's fair. I mean, and I can't say anything. I emceed an event on Saturday night, and you know, I just wore my suit coat in, which is a coat, counts as a jacket. Monkey see, monkey do, and they follow my lead. Sometimes, anyway. Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna look here real quick. Drew trying to figure out if I'm gonna give an example of how the swinging works. Considering we're at 2 different locations, we can't test that here. What's that? Centripetal force or centripetal force? Centrifugal force, centripetal force.
Centrifugal force. Yeah.
Yeah. Centrifugal force. Yeah.
Somebody's asking too, how long are we thinking we will be stuck inside, considering next week's temperatures Um, I think you said it. You hit the nail on the head, though.
It depends.
Possibly 3 days, maybe 4, depending on where you are. Yeah.
So I would say where you're at up
Tuesday?
there, Tunica, Senatobia, you get in the counties out there, you're below freezing for, what, let's say starting Friday, Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, solidly. If there's enough snow north, Tuesday,
Yeah.
you know, so you're probably talking folks northwest Mississippi, maybe near the Tennessee state line in northeast Mississippi, could be out of school beginning of next week. And listen, it's possible to have some of those issues. Tupelo, Amory, still Houston. I mean, maybe even Golden Triangle. We could see a shift farther south. With the problem and the dangerous part about this is, I'll pop back over here for a moment. Bring that to browser, and let's come back over here to. Has it popped it? I can't tell behind the scenes here whether or not Maggye, because I've lost kind of my connection, so you'll have to kind of pop it up there. I think we're on the right one.
Here we go.
Okay, we're good. Go ahead and pop
I'm
it
trying
where
to,
I
but it's
am.
slow because we're both here.
Okay.
You want me to
Yeah, go
log
ahead and
off?
log out of that, and I'll
Okay.
see. You disconnect
go.
and I'll disconnect, and
Okay.
then we'll pull it up. I would both disconnect at the
Give me
same
full
time.
responsibility.
We'll find out if this will play nice. Either way, let's see. Another way in which we can show that. I don't even remember what I was going to show now. Surface temperatures.
When Matt and I are both
Man.
logged in, our system doesn't love it.
Man, I don't remember what I was going to show now.
You don't
Oh,
even
well.
remember?
No, I don't. That's the problem. I
That's funny.
haven't had my
Well-
medicine this morning. I'm sure it was brilliant and insightful
I'm sure it
and
was very important. Yeah.
oh, that's what I was going to say. Cold air is very dense, right? And really cold air is even more dense. And so it tends to be unpredictable, especially surface cold air, on how far south it will go. And sometimes models will hold that surface cold air farther north than they should. And so because of that, oh yeah, it totally just, it's all sorts of unhappy about trying to reconnect. See, but I'm out, so maybe you'll be able to reconnect now.
Okay.
Hey,
Let's
I
see.
bought a nice expensive piece of equipment yesterday that if we have some problems with this, I can click a button and it'll restart all the computers back there. Didn't know it
Wow.
existed, but Ben Luna with Tennessee Valley Weather up there gave me the lowdown on that. We're good. Yeah, I see somebody mentioned in the chat there, Danny, saying brain freeze. You know, but cold air is dense, right? Cold air sinks. It's the reason cold air sinks and warm air rises. Cold air is dense. So really cold air is really dense. And really cold air is typically very poorly projected and modeled by our models. And so it doesn't take much for all of a sudden that to slide 2 or 3 counties farther south than we expect. So the way biases tend to work on these winter events is it tends to be that the bias pushes us to we have too much snowfall initially. Then warm air charges in and it starts melting. That's what we've started to see the last 24 hours. That's why it's all like when your iPhone said, hey, it's a foot of snow. And now today it's like, it's no snow, you know, depending on where you're at. That's where that comes in there, is the warm air aloft eating into that. But then the other bias is that the model tends to do a bad job on where the cold air hits the brakes. Because depending on where the cold air hits the brakes, you know, is you know, kind of how it's all going to work. So it's not letting you log out of the switcher there?
It's not letting me log in. Does the thing it usually does when there's too many people logged in? Question mark.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely kill all of my remote logging software. That should fully pull me out. And now you should be good if you need to be.
okay, let's try it one more time. See if we can get this
Okay.
thing going.
We're going to make it. Anyway, moral of the
We're gonna
story
do it when we
is
get
that a lot of cold air and the cold air positioning is something we're going to watch. Andy asking, so no church Sunday AM or PM? For some locations, yes. For other locations, it's still on the table as a possibility. Matt, go take your medicine. I'll do that in a minute. I promise. So you were just about to show us snowfall accumulation. I did show that kind of back on my end here. Accumulation numbers are wrong at this point. They're solidly just straight up wrong because warm air is eaten into it. If you're one of the folks that's tuning in and going, I want to see snowfall, I want to be clear, there's more than a good chance you're going to be highly disappointed. I would say a high likelihood that you're going to be highly disappointed. Any luck on getting in, by the way?
No, it's still showing up the same. It's not letting me connect in and saying, please make sure that the network is available and Splashtop's running there. So I'm not really sure.
Let me try. I'm going to try one. I'm going to try another thing here real quick. I'm going to kill my connection with you. So I'm going to wait for a second. I'll let you kind of answer some more of those questions, and then I'll be back in a moment because sometimes killing my video feed here will free that up. So Maggye always has a fun pose. So I'm gonna do this. You can see snow above my head, and I'm gonna do the thumbs down with it. Ready? That's what I have, and I'll be back in just a second.
All right, go ahead. Oh, look, he left it there. That is so funny. Okay, so why he does that, and if you see his posts on social media, is Matt and I both work from home. So we kind of video in to bring you guys what's going on. And when you log in and when you log out, he'll see like the last screen of me, like a screenshot of me pressing the log out button. And I figured that out when he showed somebody one day. He's like, look, Maggie's here. And I was like, man, I'm glad I wasn't making a bad face or anything. So then after that, I've been being funny and like making thumbs down like he is when it kind of screenshots what we're doing. So anyway, thanks so much for joining in with us. We've been talking about what's going on. We're going to continue to talk about what's going on this evening. Tomorrow morning, I'm sure Matt will be up with us Thursday, Friday as well. So I just encourage you to keep joining in, especially if you want to know what's going on. We're going to continue this in more of like a conversational setting of talking through what we can expect going into the weekend as higher resolution data does come in as well. That's going to help us be able to know a lot more of what's going on. I'm just making sure I still can't do that. But one thing we know for sure, these high temperatures, that's why I pulled this up behind me. So this is one thing we can prepare for and know 1,000% sure before we go into the weekend, right? Overall, what precipitation type you're getting, yeah, we're not 100% sure about that with everybody kind of where the axis is setting up. But one thing we are sure about are these cold conditions. Temperatures in the 50s today and tomorrow, 40s on Friday. And you might say, why are we 40s on Friday? And then there's the potential for a wintry mix. It's because temperatures are going to be falling throughout the day. So, and then cold conditions into your weekend. So again, this is one thing we're for sure about is those chilly conditions. And you can see that Matt is back up and running. Any luck getting into the system, Matt, with that?
Nah, I'm out for run town and reboot it. Luckily, this is where that piece of equipment that I have where I can just click a button and it restarts the computer would come in and do just that. So
yep,
that should be fun. Right. At least we will have that. I think that comes in the mail today. It might be tomorrow, but it gets here before this the winter weather event, thankfully.
And
so
that's
with that in mind, yeah. I do have another way that I'm going to go ahead and kind of log us back into the 24-hour channel, log us off of the different all the social medias and stuff like that. Any other questions we need to tackle before we get on out of here?
No, not much after someone telling you to go take your medicine. Thinking overall timing and everything.
My wife in the chat.
Friday and Sunday. What'd you say?
My wife's always. You made sure that wasn't Emily, right?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. Our next live broadcast will be coming up today at 5 p.m. And one of the many things that we'll be talking about in that broadcast is obviously the snowfall, sleet, ice combination, but be preparing accordingly, making sure you have plans and understand that you'll probably end up wherever you're at for a couple of days, especially the northwest portion of the area. There has been warm air that has made inroads around the Golden Triangle. We'll see if that is something that maintains. For meteorologist Maggye McCauley, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon here for Mississippi Live Weather. After this broadcast concludes on the 24-hour channel, it's going to pick right back up with your latest forecast. Keep it here for the latest, and of course, download our app, search for Mississippi Live on Roku, as well as Apple TV and all the different platforms.
Hey, good morning and happy Wednesday out there to you. I'm meteorologist Maggye McCauley. A winter